evening. Thank you all for joining us tonight for this virtual Asian American Town Hall community conversation on COVID-19 vaccine distribution in the vaccine distribution in Montgomery County. I'm Hina Mehta, and I serve as Vice Chair for Asian American Health Initiative Steering Committee. And we are excited to have you all here tonight joining this important discussion hosted by County's Office of Community Partnership and Asian American Health Initiative Montgomery County Department of Health and Human Services. We all have experienced an unprecedented public health emergency in the form of this global COVID-19 pandemic over the last whole year. However, now we have reached a stage where we can hope that there is a sight in the end that we will end this plight with the arrival on distribution of vaccines. As we work through this vaccination process as a county, as a state, and as a nation, there are more questions than answers. With today's conversations, we hope that we will be able to bring you those answers, the questions you have been asking all along, through our representatives from the county department and our trusted community physicians who are with us today. Thank you for those who have already submitted all the questions beforehand during the registration process, and we are going to do our best to address them throughout the conversation. And those who, if you didn't have an opportunity to submit your questions, you can still do so. You can type in your questions in Q&A, and time permitting, we will try to get to those questions too. Just a small housekeeping note that this live session is being recorded for note-taking purposes and for archiving view at a later date. So without further delay, let us start off. I welcome County Executive Mr. Mark Allergic and Council to welcome our participants tonight. So County Executive, please start us off. You are muted.
Okay, I'm unmuted. Okay, so I want to thank everybody for joining us tonight. I want to thank the Asian American Health Initiatives, the Office of Community Partnerships, and all the panelists for holding this town hall to address important community concerns. I know that we're here to talk about vaccine tonight, but I just want to say quickly, I want to address the rising rate of hate crime against Asian Americans around the country. I know this community is on edge. The former president did a horrible thing in trying to make this a Chinese issue, and Americans unable to distinguish between groups as they are, have really unjustly tarred the Asian community. And I know that it's hard for you to take, and we don't want you to have to deal with it. So I just want to reiterate, the county's not going to tolerate hate crimes against the Asian community. If you experience any hate bias incidents, please call the police and report it. The police are going to take this seriously, and they're going to investigate all reports. So I want you to know that Montgomery County is still Montgomery County, and we will not tolerate hate crimes against any of our residents. And I'm deeply sorry that you've had to endure this on top of having to endure this pandemic. We'll talk a little bit about what we're experiencing in Montgomery County. Montgomery County gets a total of about 15,000 doses a week, and that's everybody in the county: the hospitals, the clinics, the pharmacies, and the county health departments. And out of those 15,000, only 4,500 go to the county health department. The governor, in his hurry to tell people they're eligible to get vaccinated, we started with the 1A group, which was front-facing healthcare workers. That was CDC and state guidance, because they're the people we rely on for our own health. And so if this group gets disproportionately ill, they're not going to be able to provide the health care that we need. So they were the first priority. Seniors over 75 were the second priority. There are about 75,000 of them and about 45,000 of the frontline workers. That's 120,000 people that are trying to get 15,000 doses. And then the governor added other groups: teachers, front-facing workers, seniors 65 to 74, and younger people with comorbidities. That increased the population of Montgomery County that's eligible to get vaccinated to over 300,000 people. There's still only 15,000 vaccines available every week. Those two numbers don't work. This is why you can't get an appointment quickly. This is why when people open up for appointments, they disappear very, very rapidly. It's all because there aren't enough doses to go around. Montgomery County's own clinics, we're providing these 4,500 doses. We're focused on the senior population, 75 and up. This group has made up almost 50% of the deaths in Montgomery County. So it's a highly vulnerable, high priority community for us, because the state doesn't require any of the other providers to prioritize anybody. They can vaccinate anybody of the 300,000 who's eligible. We've decided that we're going to make sure that at least our doses are getting into the arms of the 75 and older group. This obviously has created a lot of consternation. A lot of the doses to the pharmacies and private health insurance are going to people who are much younger. The inclement weather last week, the latest shipment of vaccine the county was going to get, but this week we got, I think it was double the doses. So we've got enough doses this week to make up for last week, plus our regular allocation. We've vaccinated about half of our 75-year-old population now. So we've got about halfway to go through that group. And when we get toward the end of that, we'll start providing vaccines to the other groups who are eligible. And hopefully we'll continue to work with the hospitals and others to get everybody to focus on the senior group, so we can leave that group as quickly as possible and move on together to vaccinate everybody else. There are more doses on the horizon. Moderna and Pfizer, which are the two major providers right now, they are going to be increasing production rather dramatically over the next few weeks, and that should result in more doses coming to the county. And Johnson & Johnson is scheduled to go before FDA on the 26th for approval. If they get approved, they've already begun manufacturing, so they've got doses that they'll be able to get out pretty quickly. Again, not a lot at first, but more to come. So I would think that by the end of March, we should have an ample supply of vaccine to be able to schedule people, to be able to work through these groups as quickly as we possibly can. And, we feel everybody's, aggravation. It's hard when you're trying to get a dose and the registration sites close down in 5 minutes. It's frustrating when some people are doing this day after day and they're not able to get registered. It's hard to be 83 years old and have someone who is in their 40s or 50s or 30s tell you they've been vaccinated. We're doing our best to prioritize, and we're just hoping we can get the other vaccine providers to prioritize as well. There are other questions going to be addressed by our panel tonight. In the meantime, I want to encourage everyone to pre-register for the vaccine. The county is doing pre-registration. And if you do pre-register, as soon as we have vaccines available, we will send you out notices, and you'll be able to take that notice, go to the state website, and actually schedule your vaccination. So that's really important. I just want you to know that we are working at this to get this done. We believe, at least the doctors believe, that we need about 70% vaccinated to reach a level of herd immunity. This is going to be with us for a while. Masking is going to be with us for a while. But, we've come this far, in another week it'll be the 1-year anniversary of our first cases in Montgomery County. And people, I think, have stuck together pretty well. We've done fairly well in our numbers in terms of the number of cases and positivity in this community. We're better than We've been better than a lot of other communities in Maryland, despite being the largest community in Maryland. And I attribute all of that to the county residents who, by and large, have followed our medical advice to avoid people, avoid contact, wear masks, and maintain a physical distance. So we'll do this a while longer, but if we do this, we'll all be together and, celebrating things that we would normally celebrate together instead of on Zoom. We can go back to doing this together. I know it's especially hard for Asian Americans who would be celebrating the New Year about now. I loved going to all the New Year's celebrations because it was a holiday that was celebrated literally for a couple of months. And it meant lots of opportunities to meet and greet people and celebrate the New Year. I look forward to next year when we can do these things together again. And I'll just thank you very much and appreciate your concern and your attention to this tonight.
Thank you, County Executive, not only addressing the vaccine distribution plan, which is the agenda for the town hall, but also addressing the hate crime against the community. I'm sure that our community is already thanking you for that. So next, I would like to introduce Council President Tom Hucker to say some words to our community.
Thank you so much, Dr. Mehta, and it's great to be here with all of you. Thanks so much to our Office of Community Partnerships and the Asian American Health Initiatives for holding this very important event. Thanks so much to Diane and Yishen and everybody at the Office of Community Partnerships for all the work you do every day, strengthening our relationships between the county government and the people we serve. And thanks to you, Dr. Mehta and Jasmine, and all of your dedicated team at the Asian American Health Initiative. The work you do is really important every year, and it's particularly important this year while we're struggling with these huge challenges that are in front of us. And happy Year of the Ox to everyone. You're going to be hearing from very capable panelists in just a few minutes, including the Council Vice President and our HHS Director and your other esteemed panelists. So I want to be very brief, but I want you to know we really appreciate, everybody on the County Council appreciates what makes Montgomery County so unique is the fact that we live in the most diverse county in America with over 160,000 residents. Our Asian American and Pacific Islander community is one of our largest and most diverse communities in the county. And like the county executive, I want to echo that it's on all of our minds, the terrible hate crimes we've seen targeting Asian American residents across the nation, fueled by President Trump and his allies. And I want to assure all of you that we have your back. We've seen terrible hate crimes everywhere from the New York City subway, and even 3 robberies in my district this week of Asian American restaurant owners who were followed home and robbed of the cash from their restaurants. But I can tell you, as difficult as that is to talk about, this is why partnerships like this and events like tonight's are so important. Every community has challenges, but hardly any community has leaders like Montgomery County does, and an ongoing commitment to building trusting relationships with our community partners throughout the year. We've had that commitment for years under County Executive Elridge, under County Executive Leggett. Partnerships like that really matter. Whether you're trying to gather tips to stop hate crimes or whether you're developing culturally competent healthcare information to get that into the community, or whether you are trying to get vaccines into people's arms, those kind of partnerships can't be built overnight, and they really matter year after year. I'm really grateful for how so many of you have stepped up and banded together to help with testing this year, with distributing public information, with getting the word out about how to stay safe. We can't drive our case numbers down without you. And you're going to hear a lot more about that tonight. But I just wanted to say on behalf of all my colleagues on the County Council, we're so grateful for this relationship we have, for the ongoing partnership, and for your great work keeping the community safe. It's been a very difficult year for all of us, but there's a light at the end of the tunnel, and we only get there by vaccinating our communities efficiently and equitably. So I'm so grateful to join you tonight and eager to hear from everybody. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Council President Tucker. And now I would like to introduce County Council Member Sidney Katz to give some welcome remarks to our audience.
Well, thank you very much, Dr. Mehta, and thank you for all that you do for all of us each and every day. And thank you to Diane and E. E used to be in my office before he moved over to this job, so it's always good to see him. And I know that he continues to work for the county in such a wonderful way. But I truly stopped by today to wish everyone a happy New Year. It seems like it's strange this year, obviously, but to wish everyone a happy New Year. But to especially thank the community, and to thank Dr. Travis Gales, Dr. Earl Stoddard, Dr. Raymond Kroll, the county executive, the council president, Tom Hucker, and the vice president, Gabe Albornoz, for all that they're doing over COVID as well. So many times we take someone's hard work as just normal, and this is not normal. They are working tirelessly to make sure that every community is as safe as it can possibly be. And we never give them enough thanks. I tease Dr. Stoddard and Dr. Gales and Dr. Kroll that 24/7 is not enough for them. They work 25/8. They're always on the job. They're always working. And I think it behooves all of us to remember that each and every day. You know, we mentioned several times that this is the year of the ox, and I Googled it, and I looked up that the ox always manages to find the energy needed to get back on his feet, even when going through difficult times. We are going through the year of the ox, but together we will be together again, and we'll see the ox in a different way next year. Thank you very, very much, and please be safe and be well.
Thank you so much, Council Member Katz. We really appreciate your wishes. And before we move on to the next speaker, I would just like to remind all audience who's listening in, if you were not able to submit your question beforehand, you can still do so through our Q&A chat box, and we will be monitoring those questions, or you can put in your questions under the Facebook live feed. Last but certainly not least, we have Council Vice President Gabe Albornoz for our opening remarks to kick us this town hall. So Council Vice President.
Well, thank you, Dr. Mehta. Thank you to the Asian American Health Initiative. Your leadership over the years has been remarkable. You have helped build bridges to our different communities. You have helped be our eyes and ears and really advise the Department of Health and Human Services and all of our policymakers to ensure that we provide the best possible services to our very diverse community that is growing by the day. So thank you for that leadership. I look forward to the blueprint that you prepare every year, because it is a very important guide for all of us. And as the council president said earlier, your work has never been more important. This last year has been extraordinary and challenging and disorienting and frustrating and exhausting for everyone. We know that over 220,000 county residents have filed for unemployment since the beginning of the pandemic. Today, we recognize the milestone of the County Council of 1,350 county residents have lost their lives to COVID, and over tens of thousands have tested positive since the beginning of the virus. Our students have been out of the classroom for an entire year at this point, and the social and emotional toll on all of our residents, but especially the most vulnerable, is something that we are having a hard time processing. And the ramifications of this won't be felt and won't be entirely known for years. And our Asian community has been disproportionately impacted from a mental health perspective. No question about it. We are seeing evidence of that through our crisis line. We are seeing evidence of that through our community-based organizations that are reporting back to us that the social isolation, the negative and toxic rhetoric, and the misinformation that's being spread through social media has had a profound and deep effect psychologically on our community. We are feeling it, we are seeing it. But as our council president said, and so did our county executive and council member Katz, we have your back, because we are here to provide the programs and support and structure and infrastructure needed to help families that are in crisis, help residents that are in crisis, help residents that are in need. And despite all of those challenges, I'm actually optimistic about the future. And it's not just because it's the year of the ox, which I think is an appropriate symbol for what we will be going through this year, but it's because of organizations like the Asian American Health Initiative. It's because of county residents that have taken the time to look after their neighbors, look after their elders, support one another in a way that is profound and deep and authentic. And so it's those elements that give me hope for our future. And as we transition into this discussion, talking about vaccinations tonight, I can do this in less than 2 minutes because I've done it frequently, but to provide some context in how vaccines come from Moderna and Pfizer to Montgomery County, because that context will be important as we lay out both the challenges and describe what's happening before us right now, but also to identify the solutions. So as we all know, and a lot of this, many of you know already, there are only 2 companies in the world right now that have certified vaccinations to be able to provide to the entire world, and that is Moderna and Pfizer. Our federal government has the exclusive contract to distribute Moderna and Pfizer to the states, and the states then have the exclusive responsibility to distribute it to local organizations. Now, from the beginning, there has been challenges at the federal level in the process by which we have established policy to distribute the vaccines to the respective states. And there have also been challenges in how that distribution has been established. And then further adding to the challenges, each state is given the responsibility of deciding how it's going to administer the vaccinations and distribute them based on CDC guidelines and based on federal guidelines, but there is great discretion given to each of the states to decide how they will implement their respective systems. And so we have Virginia and the District of Columbia, neighboring jurisdictions, who have implemented their own systems, sometimes slightly different to Maryland's, which has caused confusion. In the state of Maryland, our governor decided early on to distribute vaccinations per jurisdictions based on the population of that jurisdiction. So Montgomery County is approximately 17% of the state's population, and we have been receiving more or less 17% of the vaccinations available to the entire state per week, which on the surface makes sense. But the challenge with that approach is it doesn't take into account several important factors. The county executive mentioned the 1A category. We have 6 regional hospitals here in Montgomery County, and about 40% of the employees of those hospitals are not Montgomery County residents. And yet the allocation we are receiving assumes that those employees are county residents. The other challenge is that it does not factor in the fact that we have the largest percentage of senior citizens across the entire state. And it also doesn't take into effect the disproportionate impact. We are a majority minority community, and our minorities in particular have been disproportionately impacted by the virus. And so while on the surface it makes sense for the governor to use as a percentage of our population the allocation of dosages, it has meant that because, as the county executive mentioned, over 300,000 people in those categories and the numbers we are receiving, we have remained in the 1B category and have not been able to advance to 1C. Further complicating things is when the governor announces that the state has moved to 1C, it's because the smaller jurisdictions, Talbot County, population of 38,000 people, has been able to move to 1C. And so it's confusing for our residents. The other significant mitigating factor is we don't have a centralized registration system. And as you'll hear later, that has led to a lot of confusion and challenges as well. So I just wanted to, I think I did that in 3 minutes, but I wanted to share that background and context because it's important to note as we discuss the dissemination of the vaccine and the challenges and opportunities. There are opportunities before us. Thank you.
Thank you, Council Vice President Albornoz, and really it is remarkable to see how much of the work that goes behind, which we as an ordinary citizens, we always never get to know about all these things. So we really appreciate these details on the logistics and how it gets done. And we really appreciate the county executive and council's presence at this town hall. And now we will move on to our panel of experts today who are here to talk to us about the vaccine distribution in our county. So I would first like to introduce Dr. Raymond Kroll, who is the director of Montgomery County Department of Health and Human Services. And also with him is County Department Health from Asian American Health Initiative, current acting program manager, Jasmine Nguyen. And with both of them, we are also joined today by two expert community physicians, because our community also has a lot of questions about the safety, efficacy, and some concerns about this vaccine. So we have invited physicians to answer those questions. And without further delay, I will invite Dr. Kroll to start off with his presentations. And I'm sure a lot of questions which have been already asked by our participants will be addressed by Dr. Kroll during his presentations. So over to you.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. And Dr. Betta, thank you for an opportunity to come back and see you all again and spend time working with you all. It is always a pleasure. And for this cause, it doesn't matter daytime or nighttime. We have to make sure that people are aware of the information and have the information that they need. So I'm happy to be here tonight. I'm going to share my screen with you all and run through a couple of things really quickly. And I think we'll cover some of the questions, but I also know there's a question and answer period. So anything that we don't answer now, we'll hopefully have a chance to come back. So if I can get my screen sharing privileges, that would be helpful. I don't have the ability to share right now, it seems. Yeah. No? Still not. I need someone to share. Yeah, can someone connect me up or give me the ability to share my screen?
This is Jasmine from the Asian American Health Initiative. I believe Yi and Sean are working behind the scenes to make that enabled.
Okay. I will talk a little bit about.
You should have access right now.
And the answer is, I do. Thank you. Perfect timing. Okay, so I'm going to pull this up and go to a full share mode around this. I just want to talk to you about this process in the county of getting vaccinated and share some of the things that you've heard from Council Member Alvarez and from County Executive Eldridge tonight. The first thing I want you to know is that you can always go to our county website, montgomerycounty.gov COVID-19 news, to get updates on information about things that are going on in Montgomery County. And when you go there, you'll see this page. And across the top of this page, you'll see COVID vaccine, and there's information about registration and prioritization around the vaccine for the county. So that's one that we will make sure you have available to you, and you should keep tabs on us through that site. If you live and work in the county, you can pre-register for the vaccine with the county health department, but this is just one of the ways of getting vaccine. You have to be mindful in all cases of the priority groups that you're in, whether you're in 1A, 1B, or 1C, and that's set by the CDC and by state health officer guidelines and by the state. Once you've pre-registered with us, you will get an email from us that says you're successfully registered. And when it is time, when a vaccine is available for you, you will get an email appointment from us with instructions on how to make an appointment with us. So it's an email that is sent to you and for you only, and it gives you some guidance about how to go about setting up a vaccination appointment. But you can also do that by phone when you need to. Pre-registering with the county does not mean you are registered with other venues. And one of the challenges we're facing is that as we pre-register people, there is a delay. And I think Councilmember, the County Executive Eldridge laid it out perfectly when he said we're talking about 300,000 people looking to find 15,000 doses a week. That is a challenge that we are facing, and it means it is sometimes slow. Priority groups, I won't belabor this. You will see this, and you can find this information on the web. It'll give you information about what priority group you're in, and that'll give you some sense of where we are in terms of getting vaccines done. I want to note that we are vaccinating in 1A and all of priority area 1A, and in 1B tier 1, which is 75 years and older. And we have vaccinated just shy of 60% of the persons in the county who are 75 and older in the first 8 weeks that we've been doing vaccination. So that gives you some sense of how we're moving through this process throughout the county. So in addition to clinics in the county, where else can you, or the county-run clinics, there are other places you can go. There are hospitals, state-run mass vaccination sites, and I'm going to talk about this in a little bit more because it's important to know that there's some challenges. But you can get access to vaccinations and scheduled appointments for vaccines through all of these sources. They have different levels of supply for COVID, for the vaccine, and so that it may be a challenge to get one of those appointments. It is the clinics and the state, the hospitals, the pharmacies are all following a different priority system. We're vaccinating 75 and older. These clinics, the hospitals, and the state-run, the pharmacies, and the mass vaccination sites are all vaccinating 65 and older in their prioritization list. You can also track on where to track locations for those vaccination sites by going to coronavirus.maryland.gov pages and and look it up through a vaccine locator. And they're constantly adding and updating those sites, those locations. So this is important, and I just want to take a moment and talk about this a little bit. Councilmember Alvarez touched on it a little bit. The doses we get are from the federal government to the state, and then the state sends them to its local providers. And there are long-term care facilities, pharmacies are vaccinating long-term care facilities and nursing homes, and they're exclusively focused on nursing homes. But doses also come to the hospitals, and we have a number of hospitals in the area, and they're all receiving some level of vaccines and offering vaccines up. Pharmacies and retail centers are also have also been provided doses. So Walmarts and Walgreens and CVS and Safeway and Giant are all have vaccination clinics that they're setting up. The county public health authorities get vaccines every week, and we get our set dose every week. At present, it's about 4,600 doses a week, and then the state large mass sites get vaccines, and they distribute them through their mass systems. Right now, there are 3 mass vaccination sites. There are 2 of them in Baltimore City and 1 at Six Flags, and there's a 4th that they're planning on opening up in March down in Charles County. And they're adding they've also added, the governor announced today that they're planning on setting up a pre-registration option and a call center to help people get access to doses at the state level. So that is coming down the pike. So watch the state system and the news, and you'll see those links and that information as it becomes available. So one of the things I should say, let me back up to this. Each group has a separate system for scheduling appointments, and this is one of the challenges we have. Leaving out the pharmacies, the hospitals have their own system, the pharmacies and the retail stores have a system. We have our system of pre-registration, and the state has its registration system. Up to this point, the state systems have all been first come, first serve. The county does pre-registration so that we have an opportunity to make sure that when you pre-register with us, you know there is a dose coming. It may come slow, but it will be coming. And it's also an opportunity to make sure that we distribute doses and make sure that people have equitable access to vaccine as it becomes available. So when can you get the vaccine and how much will it cost? As we have more, you will know more, and we will put more out, and that will be true across the system. We ask you to be patient, obviously, because we're waiting on supply to catch up. Every week we hear from the federal government that they're increasing. There are new vaccines, amounts of doses available. There may be a new provider available. Johnson & Johnson may be available shortly, and that will increase the supply. And so we'll get to the point where it's easy and readily available. Vaccine is free, and there is no charge for the vaccine. Some providers charge an administration fee for giving the shot. That is not true for any of the Montgomery County sponsored sites right now. So we are providing this free of charge to those folks that sign up with us. Until you get then, until you can get a vaccine, what do you have to do? You have to stay connected and stay informed and help others to get connected too. you can help other people register for the vaccine. It's a very simple process, and you can just simply log on and help someone if they're having trouble to get registered, pre-registered for us, and you can help them to even get scheduled. Stay engaged with friends and neighbors. This is hard on everybody, and there's a lot of mental health challenges to our mental health. And so we need to stay alert and stay focused and stay connected with each other. Stay on top of the information. There is an incredible amount of information. There's also a lot of misinformation, a lot of backwards information about the sources of the virus, about the things that the vaccine will do to you. It will not rewrite your DNA. There are not nanites. There are not trackers in it. And there is, and it will not give you coronavirus. And so our doctors will share some of that information and help you with some of that this evening and talk through some of that. Avoid some vaccine scams. Anybody who's asking you for any ID, any money, any information, any credit cards, turn away from it. If you're not getting vaccine from one of the sources you've seen here, if someone calls up and says we're selling vaccine doses, don't buy into it. There were some folks arrested in another part of the state this week for trying to sell fake vaccine. So be aware and be alert, and go to resources that you trust. So stay safe is important. Pre-registration for us, as I said earlier, we're vaccinating in 1A and 1B. You can pre-register for our county-run clinics, and our pre-registration process is available in all the languages you see there: English, Spanish, French, Amharic, Chinese, Korean, and Vietnamese. And this is our vaccine site. So if you go there, you'll be able to pre-register and sign up. And once you've pre-registered, you'll get notification, and you'll continue to get a periodic notification about where we are in the process right now. So you have to pre-register in order to make an appointment. Again, and we will contact you to give you an appointment to schedule a vaccine. The address will come from C19 Vaccination at MontgomeryCountyMD.gov. That's the only place it will come from, or a text message. And it will give you a link for scheduling your appointment and some times and locations. And if you have any trouble with that at all, call 777-240-777-2982. And someone will pick up the phone, and we will help you to get scheduled up. So your appointment is for you. You cannot share it with other people. You should not share it with other people, because that creates a lot of chaos for us in this system. Your community-based organizations in the community, the CCACC, can obviously help you serve as a resource for pre-registration and information. And as for the process, when you come on the day of the clinic, if you need a ride, you can arrange for a ride for residents over 50 and with disabilities. You can call Connect a Ride or email Connect a Ride or call, and they'll work on setting you up with a ride. When you arrive, and I meant to correct this earlier, this is not totally accurate. You need to bring identification. You need to bring something that demonstrates that you live in Montgomery County or work in Montgomery County if you're in 1A. Driver's license, a Maryland identification card, passports, work IDs also work, but something that shows, something that has your name on it, that has a bill and an address. We are very, very flexible about what we bring for ID, what we ask for ID. Just something that says, I'm a Montgomery County resident. You want to wear clothes that are easy, so you can get your your arm bare, so you can get a shot very quickly. There is parking in the locations where we're holding the sites, and there will be people directing traffic to get you in and out. You might have to stand in line both outside and inside. And because it's cold, we encourage you to dress appropriately to make yourself comfortable. And if you need canes or walkers and or wheelchairs, and you bring those, that's fine. In some of our sites, we generally have wheelchairs available for folks who need to sit and be escorted and supported in getting into the site. So if you're part of that group, once you get in, so there's a caution. People have been sharing the links to the links to schedule an appointment. If you didn't get the link from us and you share that with someone else, people will be turned away. And this is one of the hard things. It is painful for my staff to have to do this with people. But if we've got one person and they're asking and 15 people who signed up for that dose, then we have to say no to some people around this. So we will get you into the system, we'll keep you safe, and we'll get you vaccinated as quickly as possible. One of the things that has to happen when you're there is that we ask people to stay for 15 minutes to a half an hour to be monitored, just to make sure there are no side effects that are problematic. People get a little dizzy sometimes, and maybe feel a little nauseous. That's a normal reaction to the side effect to the first dose or second dose of the vaccine. We will make sure that you have you're contacted for your second dose. It is critical that you get both vaccine doses. There's a lot of discussion about 1 dose versus 2 doses, and we'll talk about that a little bit more. But please we'll give you a card, and you'll be contacted for your second dose appointment. Make sure you bring it with you to your second appointment. It takes time for this vaccine to reach maximum protection. So you get both doses, and then there's a period of time, week to 10 days afterwards, before it actually reaches its maximum potential. So you have to keep wearing your mask and stay safe and continue to practice social distance. You can't just go out and have a good time and start gathering immediately as you get your vaccination. So in the meantime, continue to stay safe until you can get your vaccine. Stay safe, use prevention methods, cover your nose and mouth with a mask, stay apart from people, avoid crowds, keep your hands clean, and disinfect frequently touch surfaces. And if you have any questions about your health and vaccination, please contact your doctor or clinic, and they can advise you on your particular case. So I think that's it for me. I want to say thank you all, and stay safe.
Thank you, Dr. Kroll, for a great presentation. You shared a lot of information that addresses a lot of questions already. And we really thank you and your staff for working relentlessly for past, I don't know how many months. We have seen you being in 3 meetings at the same time, and making sure that everyone gets vaccinated. So now I would like to move on to ask our experts, physicians, and we have invited two trusted medical experts to address some medical questions about the vaccine. So first, I would like to introduce Dr. Mahesh Ochani. He is an internist and who has been practicing internal medicine for nearly 30 years in Glen Burnie, Maryland. He is also affiliated with the University of Maryland, Baltimore, Washington Medical Center, and we are honored to have Dr. Ochani with us here today. Good evening, Dr. Ochani.
Good evening. Thanks for having me over.
Welcome. So, as we go through the vaccination process, but always there are some basic questions that what are these vaccines and why should people get vaccinated?
Well, vaccines are basically biological agents that help us build immunity in order to fight infection. So when a microbe invades our body, our immune system recognizes it as a foreign agent and starts building proteins called antibodies. Besides recognizing it as a foreign agent, it also keeps the memory of the microbe. So in case in the future you get exposed to it again, we are ready to fight with the antibodies. So vaccines contain these microbes or sometimes parts of the microbe that get injected into the individual, and the immune system responds to it by forming these antibodies. So in the real world, when you do get exposed to these germs or viruses, you're ready to fight them and you do not get the disease, or you may get the disease in a much milder form. So vaccines have been the most powerful tool in our toolbox to find infections as well as pandemics in the past. Over the past several decades, we've been able to reduce and eliminate a lot of diseases only because of vaccinations. For example, polio and smallpox and many others. Vaccines not only help the individual who's taking the vaccine, but it also helps people around those individuals who are vaccinated, such as their family members as well as people in the community. This works two ways. Number one, because you're vaccinated, you're going to lower the spread of the infection. Also, you remember there are some people who are not candidates for vaccinations, either because of their age or because of their associated medical conditions. So these people depend on others to get vaccinated around them, what we call herd immunity. So basically, taking vaccination can be argued that it is actually a social responsibility as well. And one of the last thing I'd like to mention is that vaccinations do not cause the disease. For example, the COVID-19 vaccine has mRNA strands in it. It doesn't have the full live virus in it, so it cannot transmit the disease.
Thank you. Actually, I was going to ask you that, as the technology is evolving and we all keep hearing about these two vaccines that are available, Pfizer and Moderna, and they are based on mRNA technology. So, can you tell us a little bit more about how does that work?
Sure. So in order to understand mRNA, we need to talk about some basic cell biology. So our body's made up of billions of cells. And each cell has a nucleus. And within the nucleus, we have our DNA, which produces what we call mRNA. And their job is to produce various proteins that we need for the normal functioning of our body. We have come to know that the coronavirus invades the human cells by virtue of its spike protein, which is on the outer capsule of the virus. And scientists have been able to isolate the mRNA for that spike protein. So they took the mRNA strands, which are basically genetic codes or blueprints, and gave them a special coating and put them in a vaccine. The coating protects the mRNA from destruction from the cell enzymes, as well as it helps the cells of the human body pick up the vaccine. So once you get injected with the mRNA vaccine, the body cells, the lymph nodes nearby, pick up the vaccine, and the cells start, the mRNA starts doing its job of producing the spike protein. Now, because the spike protein is a foreign protein, our immune system recognizes it as a foreign protein and starts producing antibodies. So now you have antibodies against the spike protein of the virus. So you are prepared to fight the virus. So in the real world, when you do get exposed to the virus, now you're ready to fight it and hopefully not get the infection, or get a milder form of the disease and not get a severe disease that requires hospitalization or going to the ICU and so forth. One other thing I'd like to clarify is that the mRNA doesn't enter the nucleus of our cells. It does not interact with the person's DNA. So that's important to realize.
Thank you. Thank you for such a detailed, about the mRNA technology. And people often talk about the side effects of these vaccines. So can you tell us more about the side effects of these two Pfizer and Moderna vaccine and what to kind of anticipate and what we can do about it?
Sure. So majority of people do not experience any, major side effects. There are a few people who will experience what we call mild side effects. Such as they may get pain at the injection site or low-grade fever, chills, body aches, headaches, feeling tired. These are normal symptoms. Actually, it indicates that your immune system is responding to the vaccine. And these last for a brief period of time, maybe a day or two, or maybe a few days. And they respond very well to Tylenol or ibuprofen. Also, these side effects tend to occur more so after the second dose of the vaccine. And they are seen more commonly in the younger population compared to the older population, only because the younger population has a much more robust immune system. Very rarely we see what's called severe allergic reactions or anaphylactic reactions, where people may have difficulty breathing, or they may drop their pressure significantly. They may need an EpiPen and so forth. Again, these are very rare. And people who have had previous known severe allergic reactions to any vaccine or drug or food should really consult their healthcare providers and take the vaccine under close medical supervision. The only contraindication to taking these vaccines is if you've had a reaction to the first dose of the vaccine. So even if it's not a very severe reaction, so if you get like hives or some wheezing after the first dose of the vaccine, you should not take the second dose. And the only other contraindication would be if someone is known to be allergic to one of the components of the vaccine, for example, the polyethylene glycol, they should not be taking the vaccine.
Thank you. Thank you for this detailed information, Dr. Rachani, and for your time. We
You're
will
welcome.
again, get back to you when we again get back into the detail, another quick Q&A from the audience. With this now, I would like to turn to Dr. Chow to address a few more medical related questions. Dr. Chow is the founder and medical director for the Chinese Cultural and Community Service Center Pan-Asian Volunteer Health Clinic in Gettysburg. Dr. Chow, thank you so much for being with us tonight. And I know that you and your team have been so busy, and we really appreciate that you took out some time for speaking with the community today.
You're welcome. I'm glad to be here.
Thank you. Thank you. So I will have some more medical related questions for you. And just, this has been a very common question. Sometimes people ask that how do we know these vaccines are safe when they are so new?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a very important question. Traditionally, all the vaccine, they have to go through 3 phases before it can be issued to be marketed. And usually it takes years. The same thing for the COVID-19 vaccine have to go through 3 phases. But interestingly, it goes pretty short. We can tell from March to November, only 8 months, they've been through the 3 phases. I'm not sure it's lucky or unlucky because we have so many patients. I mean, the cases. So within a short period of time, already have enough cases. But the development of vaccine, although in a short period of time, is always under the monitor by committee, ACIP, the Advisory Committee in Immunization Practice. So within a short period of time, they ask for the EUA. So it seems to be a little bit too short, but actually they don't really cut corner. They only cut corner for those like paperwork, bureaucracy, but not for the safety. They really don't find any life-threatening side effect. Although we just mentioned that the only side effect or the contraindication is the allergic reaction. Actually, it's really relatively rare. It's about 3 to 5 per million. Is really rare. But still, after we start to market these 2 mRNA vaccine, we still have a safety net to keep track, so-called the VAERS, the Vaccine Adverse Event Report System, and also a newly developed VSafe. You can use a smartphone to do that. So anybody can go online to report either directly or to your healthcare provider. So up to now is 64 million doses have been issued, but still we don't see any significant or life-threatening events. So it's pretty safe. But you may argue that maybe how about 1 year, 5 years, 10 years down the road, you have any side effect? Well, from the history of the vaccination, we think it's pretty safe. Okay, why not for this vaccine?
That's really reassuring.
Yeah. But on the other hand, you may think that if in case if get a COVID-19, you may get sick, you may die from it, or you may have so-called a post-COVID-19 syndrome in the future. Well, that's we could have to consider. So we have to think about the balance between these two. So we should go for that. I think it's safe. Everybody thinks it's safe.
That's really reassuring to hear about the safety and how the technology has evolved, and we have already gone through so many vaccines in the past. And another question we hear from our community member is that some folks have underlying health conditions, and should they still get the vaccine?
Oh, absolutely. Actually, that's already in the phase 1C. Those patients, they really have a medical condition. They have the priority to get the vaccine, at least in the phase 1. No doubt about it. Maybe you might consider, say, some patients, they have like immunocompromised condition. They're receiving chemotherapy. They don't have really enough data for that. But overall, it should be safe to receive it. Maybe the response a little bit less effective because the immune compromised situation. I think another issue we should consider is the autoimmune disease. And probably the rheumatology we consider to hold off the immunosuppressant agent to just keep the effect of the vaccination. I think that's what we consider. So that the answer is yes, we should go for it.
And also, like, sometimes, people have tendency that, okay, now I'm vaccinated, so, I will not be affected by anything. So I don't need to do anything. So what do you think about, continuing the safety measures like wearing mask or anything? Do you have any advice for the community?
The answer is that we have to pay attention to that. The reason being, after you're being vaccinated and you have antibody that can protect yourself from getting sick or getting hospitalized, but the antibodies just protect you when the virus go into your body. But how about if you still may harbor some virus, your nasal cavity, your oral mucosa, which it doesn't go into your body. So you still can be a carrier. You can, if you sneeze, if cough, you still give to somebody else. So I already have my two doses, but I still, when I see patient, regularly, I use face shield, use facial mask, I use hand washing, if possible, keep a little bit distance. So we should keep on doing what we are doing now, even we already have our vaccine, completely.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. Rochani and Dr. Chow, for answering these important questions. And I'm sure with your detailed answers, community has at least some guidance on safety and of the vaccine and how it's made, and even if they get vaccinated, what precautions they should take. So thanks for input. And now we will begin with the Q&A sessions with all our panelists. And for this purpose, since we had received an overwhelming number of questions beforehand, we have categorized them in certain groups, and we will go through those with our panelists. So to begin with, we have, again, same thing. There is a lot of anticipation and concerns regarding the wait time and the projected timeline for vaccination. So my first set of questions is directed to Dr. Raymond Kroll. So Dr. Kroll, there are a lot of questions that, there is a confusion about the pre-registration. Folks have asked that, I'm in phase 1B and 1C, and I know there are various ways to get vaccines, CVS Pharmacy and Giant, and there are clinical websites and pre-registrations. So I have pre-registered, but I have not gotten any response. So how long will it take?
I wish I had a crystal ball to tell you how long it would take. So a couple of things. If you've pre-registered with the county, and right now when you see the words pre-registration as of today, that implies the county. That may change in a little bit, but right now the pre-registration is with the county. I said earlier that we have vaccinated approximately 58% of the persons who are 75 and older in the first 8 or 9 weeks we've been doing the vaccinations. We started the Christmas week on the 23rd of December, and then we did a little bit more the week after that. We really got going the first week in January. And so 8 weeks it's taken us to vaccinate on the order of 52,000 persons who are 75 and older. We're expecting that with more vaccine, that's going to start happening faster. The more sites begin to vaccinate, the more sites get stood up, that'll happen faster. It won't take us another 8 weeks to go through the entire 75 and older list. We will start vaccinating in other groups before we start getting we won't wait till we get 100% of all the 75-year-olds vaccinated, because it's going to take time to do that. So we will be beginning to vaccinate in other groups as we move, other tiers as we move forward. So we're having discussions now about when do we open that up and when do we start registering. People have already pre-registered for some of that, but when do we start to do the vaccination? So I'm estimating it'll be another few weeks before we start looking into other groups. That doesn't mean you'll be on the list the first day. It does mean it's going to take time.
I think in that case, it looks like that it's fair to say that, when the testing started, when the initial COVID, just right exactly a year ago, mm-hmm. And when started and then the tests were not available so frequently, people had to line up. And then when it became more mass production and when the supply started coming in, it became much easier. Now you can just go in and out and you are done with the test. So we can hope for those days will not be too far, hopefully. So are there any walk-in sites yet for the vaccination in Montgomery County?
We do not have walk-in sites. We try to make sure that because we've pre-registered, we want to honor the pre-registration for people. There are some rare occasions where there's someone who walks in who may may get a vaccination, but that's someone who has brought someone with them who's much older and frail, and because they are transporting someone, they may get a vaccination as a result of that. But generally speaking, we try not to do walk-ups, because we found when we do walk-ups, people start showing up from all over the place, and we don't have doses to be able to do that for people.
And in that case, the way, you just mentioned about some statistics and some timeline, and based on that, when does a county think that people under 65 will be able to start registering and get vaccinated, and especially those who are with some medical conditions?
Well, I think those persons who are 18 to 64 with some medical conditions will be in that line, in that group, in an earlier group, before we start vaccinating more broadly with people who are under 65. Again, this is one of those moments where 300,000 people for 15,000 doses in the county, and we're working our way through that. And that's just the first tiers that we've named. When we start talking about 16 to 64 and folks who are have immune compromises or health conditions, that's going to be a little longer wait, I'm afraid.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Kroll. I will again turn a little bit gear here again back to the some of the medical questions, because we just heard from expert physicians. So again, I'm going to continue with that. So my first question is for Dr. Ochani. There have been there are questions around whether women who are pregnant or planning to get pregnant, what is your recommendation for them about getting vaccinated?
Well, currently the data is very limited as far as the safety of both these vaccines in pregnant women. Observational data has shown that pregnant women who are positive for COVID-19 are at increased risk for severe disease, which means there is a higher risk for them going into the hospital, going into the ICU, getting mechanical ventilation, and even death compared to non-pregnant women in the same reproductive age group. Also, women who are pregnant and have COVID-19 infection have complications related to their pregnancy, such as preterm birth. So the recommendations are that women who are pregnant and belong to certain high-risk categories, like if they are in healthcare work, or they are frontline essential workers, or they have other comorbid medical conditions, then they should certainly consult their healthcare provider and consider taking the vaccine.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So my next question is for Dr. Chow. We are constantly hearing in the news about all these new variants. South African variant is coming, and in UK it happened and everything. So can you comment on the current vaccines and their effectiveness against these new variants?
Yes. The answer is still effective, but maybe less effective. It all depends on what kind of vaccine, because there's so many different type of vaccine, and also there's different variants from UK, from South Africa, from Brazil. They are a little bit different, but basically still effective, and the condition is still evolving. So we are not sure which one is better, but the pharmaceutical company and the scientists still working hard to generate the second generation, especially for the mRNA vaccine. They can manipulate a little bit and can help in the future. But what we should know is that it's kind of like a race between the time everybody get vaccinated versus the variant, how fast they become vaccinated, become a variant. So we get protected. They don't have the chance to become a variant and and then invade us. So, and actually it's a kind of global issue. We can take care of ourselves, but if somebody else, from the other country, they come in, they bring in the new variant, come in, then we get infected again, although we have at least partially protected. So the issue is that we have to work by ourselves and have to take care of ourselves, our own country, to take care of it, get vaccinated as soon as possible before the variant become more and more popular.
Thank you. Thank you. So again, going back to Dr. Ochani, since we talked about, expectant mothers, so how about children? We know that there is still children under 16 and 18, depending on what company is making the vaccine. They are not getting vaccinated. So when do you think the vaccines for children will be available? Because a lot of parents have asked that question, so that we thought we will get your opinion on that.
Yeah, that's a very important question, especially for parents. So right now, as you said, Pfizer is authorized for age group 16 and up, and Moderna is authorized for age group 18 and up. So there are currently studies underway for the adolescents who belong to age group 12 and up. Both Pfizer and Moderna are doing those trials right now, and we anticipate that a vaccine for that age group 12 and up will be available later this spring or early summer. As far as the younger kids are concerned, for age group 5 to 11, studies are to get started pretty soon, and we anticipate that there'll be a vaccine for them. Well, it'll take several months to get there for that age group, unfortunately.
Thank you, Dr. Ochani. Back to Dr. Chow. There is a question from one of our community members. It is a little specific, but I'm sure there are other community members who might have similar questions, or they are going through a similar situation. It's, I'm supposed to get shingles vaccine. And so can you please comment whether I can still take COVID-19 vaccine along with any other vaccine I'm due for?
Yeah, the guideline for now that you cannot give another vaccine along with the COVID-19 vaccine. You have to do it separately. And you should separate like 14 days between these two vaccinations. And we also consider about so-called if you miss the second dose, can you get it back? Or if you receive the vaccine, the second dose a little bit early, something like that. Well, we usually have a so-called grace period. The grace period is you should not get it like before. The second dose, you should not get it 4 days beforehand. Within 4 days, like 3 days, still good, still count as good. The second dose still good. And for if you lag behind, there's no limitation. You still can get a second dose, but preferably like within 6 weeks. They find that within 6 weeks, still good to work. Although usually they up to now, the study show that even after the first dose, you still get certain protection, but we better stick to like after Pfizer, 3 weeks, and after Moderna is 4 weeks. Try the best. Although some exception, if you're in ER, you get a tetanus vaccine already, and you're already online to get COVID in like 1 week or 10 days, then I think you should go for it rather than you have to wait for another one month. So the answer is you have to stick to it, but there's some grace periods.
Okay, thank you so much. And Dr. Ochani, one more question for you. Should I take the COVID-19 vaccine even if I had COVID infection?
The answer is yes. The reason is people think that since they got the COVID-19 infection that they have immunity to the virus. They sure do, but it's called natural immunity, which we don't know how long it lasts. Because we have also seen very rarely some cases who are getting reinfected. So people get COVID-19, they recover, and then they can get reinfected again. So the answer is they should still take the vaccine. The guidelines from CDC are that they should wait for at least 10 days after they have COVID-19 infection before they take the vaccine. And if someone gets treated with monoclonal antibodies or convalescent plasma, they should ideally wait for 90 days before they take the vaccine.
That's really useful. With that, I would again switch gear to Dr. Kroll. Here, since as you all know, that Asian American community has lots of organizations who have been working relentlessly to register the community members. And so there are some questions from our community-based organization and partners for you. And one of the question is whether the county will consider setting up dedicated vaccine sites in partnership with community organization or adult daycare centers that service our seniors. So do you think the county has any plans for doing that to reach the community?
We do. I think we are having conversations with CCACC as we speak to send, excuse me, sorry, with CCACC to stand up a vaccination site in partnership with them to bring doses to places that are familiar and comfortable to the community. So that's at least one of the things we've done. We're also partnering with other groups to take vaccines we're exploring the possibility, we're piloting the work, I should say, to bring vaccines to people's homes. At some point where they're unable to get out to come to a vaccination site. We're also doing vaccination sites in independent living communities for seniors. So we're moving vaccination around, and we're moving it to communities that are hardest hit and to people who are unable to take that last mile, to a vaccination site.
And so as community-based organization or any faith-based organizations, what role they can play in getting this word out, and what are the resources available from county for them to get this process started?
So this kind of conversation that we're having right now is important for folks to know, to share the information that we've shared tonight about what's available and about what the vaccine can do for you is important. For pre-registration, it's important, and absolutely faith-based organizations and community-based organizations can absolutely help. You have members in your community or in your faith institutions that need help in registration. Take them, set them aside, and walk them through the site. Register them, help them to register. If necessary, you can leave your email as a contact point so that when it's time for them to be scheduled, we can contact you, and you can in turn contact that person and help them to get scheduled and get to an appointment. Those are just two simple ways you can do that. You can also call. They can also call the number that we mentioned earlier in this posted that we shared earlier, 240-777-2982. To get someone to help them walk through the pre-registration site process.
So another recurring questions we are right now when we are live, we are getting from our community members who are attending this town hall is that some areas have high minority population and also high amount of COVID-19 cases. Does the county have any plan to focus on those areas and zip codes?
So glad you asked that. We have been tracking where this virus is going since day one. And so we can tell you which zip codes have been, I didn't share that with you today, I've shared it in previous conversations in previous meetings, but tell you which zip codes have the highest rates of infection, and which communities and which groups have that highest rates of infection. And within those zip codes, we can tell you who's being affected most by race and ethnicity and by age, down to catchment areas, so very small areas. So we stood up a vaccination site in 90204 on Sunday, and we invited folks from 02, 04, 06, and from across the county, but targeted to those areas. We stood it up in a place that was one of the most severely impacted communities by COVID throughout this pandemic. So we are taking it to folks, and we're allocating doses and setting up sites in places that are what we're calling hotspots for COVID. We're taking the vaccine, we're taking this fight to the virus, wherever it is in the county.
Thank you for answering that questions. I will turn to Jasmine for my next set of questions, especially these are specific from the community regarding how the communication is going towards this vaccine distribution, how they can avail those things. So my first question to you is, what are the most significant vaccination issues you have encountered within the Asian community?
Thank you, Dr. Mehta, for that question. There are significant barriers facing the Asian American community right now in accessing the vaccine. Definitely language barriers are, that is the one that I see most paramount for the Asian American community. With a lot of new information being posted online, updates on the processes, almost on a daily basis, everything is in English first and it's all online. Then it is eventually translated into the other top languages spoken in the county. And, for the Asian community, we're talking about Chinese, Vietnamese, and Korean. We do our best as a county department to make sure that this information gets out ASAP, ready for community consumption for our diverse communities. And our CBO partners have been doing a great job at getting that information, that trusted information out to those who are most isolated. And that includes our Asian seniors. The technology divide is another big barrier. I'm looking at a majority of Asian seniors in priority groups 1B and 1C. To pre-register, you have to be quite proficient in reading English and to do so on a computer screen, which again, technology access issues. So our CBOs have been playing a huge support in pre-registering folks. And also we have, as an Asian American myself, I do, have, I support my parents in being able to sign up for the vaccine wherever I'm able to get a slot. And we've gotten multiple calls coming into our office, again, with the same challenges. They are trying to sign up. They're not sure of where to sign up. So that's why in Dr. Kroll's presentation, it was helpful to learn that there are different avenues to getting the vaccine and to let people know that to exercise those options. Transportation and misinformation. Seniors in the Asian American community have been isolated for so long, not leaving their homes out of fear of getting COVID. And now they hear about the vaccine. So, if they are, if there's no one to guide them to a reputable source to get the facts about the vaccine, it makes them susceptible to misinformation they may hear through various channels. So we do our best to make sure that we give them access to that information to dispel any myths about the vaccine.
So you mentioned about, that your office has been engaged in translating the material related to the vaccine information and distribution and making sure that it gets to the hands of communities. So what kind of materials do exist for all the Asian community right now, and how are you making sure it gets distributed to them in languages they are looking for?
Mm-hmm. That is an excellent question. I've been referring a lot to the CDC website. So as I said, information is new, it's changing, it's right off the press. So I've been referring to the CDC website. They have several educational outreach handouts. One is labeled Facts of the Vaccine. It's a 2-page handout that you can, that is translated actually in some of the common Asian languages, such as Chinese, Korean, Vietnamese, and they also have it in Tagalog. So they are, as the information is new, it's being translated. Every day I refresh the screen and I see a different language that it's available in, which is great. And to note, the CDC is also developing some communication toolkits where, the CBOs can use to educate the community and also to address the vaccine hesitancy and build confidence in the vaccine. So you have to dig a little bit in their library, but it is there. And if you need access to that information or need some help digging into their library, feel free to reach out to the Asian American Health Initiative and I can connect you to some of the resources.
Thank you. And one last question for you. How's your office or he is ensuring equity distribution of vaccines to those most in need? Are you taking steps or?
Yes, great question. So we are holding community conversations just as these, where we have a space in which community members, CBO partners, our experts in the healthcare field come together to ask these questions in a respectable space so that we can provide them facts and, empower them with that knowledge of where to get the vaccine. If you are still hesitant about the vaccine, let's talk about that a little bit. Let's see where the hesitancy is coming from so that we can build that confidence. Definitely in the beginning stages when the vaccine first came out, I heard a lot of hesitancy from the Asian American community. But after a while, after they see community members like them, community physicians like them, getting the vaccine and saying like, okay, yeah, there are some side effects that show that the vaccine is working, but I've taken it. And the reality is people are suffering health complications from COVID-19 itself, not necessarily from the vaccine. So still much work to be done. Definitely education is something that we are doing. And I've been in talks with many of our community-based partners, and I'm happy to talk to them and, present to them so that we can get that information out there.
Okay, thank you. And so that means that, any community members, if they come if they need any information after this town hall, also they can contact Office of, Asian American Health Initiative, Montgomery County Department of Health and Human Services. And since you mentioned about the seniors and use of technology, I will turn it back to Dr. Kroll for asking him about what county is doing to help share vaccine rollout updates to seniors who are isolated and have little or no knowledge of how to use the technology.
So we are, I think, as Jasmine just discussed, trying to make sure that our community partners have information as situations change in the rollout and the availability of vaccine. So we going back a year or so ago, the county launched a census campaign that was designed, and Ms. Vu and Office of Community Partnerships team created this group, the CCC, to try to make sure that we were reaching into the community and connecting with partners through faith-based organizations and community-based organizations to share information and encourage people to sign up to take the census, to complete the census. We've reactivated that group and are working with our regional service center directors and all of those community members to try to now make sure that the communities have information in the languages, in places and locations where they are, whether it's in print material or whether it's through community forums that we might encourage seniors and support seniors to take part in. Our Aging and Disabilities Office is doing outreach and engaging our senior centers across the county to try to make sure that every vehicle we can explore that isn't a digital vehicle that has an opportunity to share it's a path to share information with seniors. We're trying to do that with people.
So another question, more majority or there is quite a good percentage of Asian community is in food and restaurant business, and they have been hit hard because of the closer down and everything. They are essential worker, and as and whenever the 25%, 50% capacity they open, they want to go back and serve the customer. And they have been dealing with this. So there have been a lot of questions around that, whether they will be considered as an essential worker and what priority group they will be considered for this vaccine, under this vaccine distribution plan.
So I can't tell you precisely what group they would be considered in, but I can tell you that we are, as we move through the 75-year-olds, one of the groups that we're looking at is next are folks who are working in places that are essential for us to stay safe and stay alive. So grocery workers, for example, are in that group because we all have to find our way to grocery stores to feed our families, to feed ourselves. So they're in that next group. childcare workers and educators are in that group as well, that we'll be targeting and working on next to try to get folks into back into work. The folks who are in service industry and food service industries are likely to be going to be probably in 1C in one of the tiers in 1C. So it'll be a while before we get to them in any kind of large scale. But I would say that as more doses are available, it becomes easier for them to get vaccinated and faster for them to get vaccinated. And they may fall into other categories as well. So if they're volunteering, for example, with food distribution, they may fall into a category where we'll be able to vaccinate them earlier.
So, and since we have been hearing about, MCPS is planning to start in-person school from March. So, of course, parents are concerned and teachers are concerned. So, is it possible to start school without vaccination to their teacher? And somebody has this specific question that his wife is a substitute teacher. So again, similar kind of question. First one was the food industry. Now we are talking about teachers, what category they will be in, and when can they be vaccinated?
So educators are being vaccinated as we speak, for both public and for private schools. We started that process. The governor initially announced that he wanted schools to reopen in beginning of March, and the school districts have all been working to comply with that, knowing that vaccination was not deemed a requirement for reopening, but certainly a strong preference for reopening. And Dr. Gales has I think stated that he thinks it's important for teachers and educators to be vaccinated. The state made an initial amount of doses available for educators, and I think, and they continue to make doses available. And we are partnering with the state and with our local providers to try to increase the rate at which we're vaccinating school educators in the public school system. The school system is setting the prioritization list for who comes back, who gets vaccinated, because they've determined what schools are going to open and what programs and services are going to open. And so we're taking their prioritization list and filling it that way. So if there's someone who is, and I can only imagine that they will need substitute teachers. And so they should reach out to the schools where they were and to the school system, try to see where they might fall on that list and if there's space for them on that list.
Thank you. Unfortunately, we are running out of time. So thank you, everyone, for the great informative discussion. And thank you, everyone, for joining today's this session. There will be probably some unanswered questions still in Q&A. We will try to get back to each of them. We are taking notes of it. We will try to get back to each of the questions, either via our Facebook post or on AHI website. You can even join the Facebook page there, and we will be answering the questions there later. We thank you all, County Council, County Executive, Montgomery County DHHS, and our esteemed community physicians who took time from their busy schedule to be here with us. And just as a closeout remark, I would again ask Dr. Kroll to send some closing message that you want our community to leave with tonight, and just assuring them about the distribution.
So I would say this to you all. Last year, this time, we were at the start of a pandemic and we had no idea how bad it was going to be. This year, we have weathered the worst we could have ever imagined, and then some, I suspect. And we've seen a lot of loss of friends and family that we will be grieving for the years to come. But I will say that vaccine gives us hope for the future, and it is coming, and it is coming fast, and it is coming faster every day. We are going to end up this year better than we were at the start of this year. And I have every confidence that we will be, some point this year, a lot more comfortable drawing breath without a mask on, and in the same spaces with each other. It's going to take some time, and it's going to take a lot of patience, but we're going to get there. And it is going to take, we will make the doses available. We need the community to be ready to take them when they're available. And together we'll work it out.
Thank you, Dr. Kroll. And thank you again to all who attended tonight's session. Again, if you have any questions, please reach out to the Office of Community Partnership and Asian American Health Initiative. And we hope you all have a great rest of your evening. Thank you for joining us today.
Stay safe, everyone.
Thank you.